Evening. We are live. Here we go. Here we are. So I'm your host, Noel Clubb, here in the Clubb Tracks TV show. Welcome to Spanish Sports Network. Excuse me, on Zingo TV channel 250. And of course, please remember to download the Zingo TV app from respective iOS and Android app stores, as the app is absolutely free. And while you download, please make sure to rate and leave us a comment, because we always want to hear from you folks. We certainly do. Absolutely. And of course, moving on here, Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, and Fire TV sticks. Roku and Roku sticks are also available on all smart TVs from 2016 forward. Also mentioned, guys, here also on the H.E.R network, channel 251 as well. We're also seeing on there as well live. Woo-hoo. Right on, right on. Expanding our network, hey? Expanding our world more and more and more. Very, very cool. Well, thanks for folks for watching and joining us here on the show. Always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us here. And it's time to introduce, our cool co-host of the show. He's, of course, the lead singer and guitarist of the New York City classic rock band The Handful. Includes also a great and very cool, special, awesome solo artist with a brand new record came out this past October called Bodega Flowers. But here is, folks, live on East Village, New York City, the cool and the awesome Mr. Mark, cool dude, Duda, to the show. Welcome.
Thank you, brother. Listen, you haven't lost your enthusiasm in the 2 years I've been with you, and God bless you for it. I'm equally excited to be here.
Right on.
Yeah, just thrilled to have Leslie on tonight. Like, we had texted about some of the music earlier today, and just looking forward to this, man. I mean, one of the coolest things about doing this show is the people we meet and the opportunity we get to hear new music that we may not have otherwise heard, right? So here we are.
And also like another perspective on music, and also life, and another background, another story. No, just to me, it's endlessly fascinating.
Very cool.
We have another fascinating guest here on the show again this evening.
Yeah.
Without further ado, of course, folks. So she is a Toronto-based veteran pop fusion artist. Just released her new single, Look But Don't Touch. We're discussing the single, of course, much more about her and her fascinating story as well. And also a very cool styling of music, I have to say, as well. Just very impressive stuff that I've heard. Very cool, very unique, just stands out big time. But anyway, moving on. Without further ado, please welcome Leslie Taylor to the Clubb Tracks TV show. Welcome, Leslie.
Thank you. What an honor to be here. And as I said earlier, it doesn't get much more exciting to just be able to sit and talk with folks about music.
Yes.
Never mind about music, right?
Yeah, we hear that, especially here in this show, eh? Especially the Mark and I. That's our religion. It's music.
Yeah, we're two guys that'll sit around every Sunday and talk about music and do it for nothing, and because we can't help it. Right. And we're both musicians as well as having other pursuits, and we're all human beings above all. So this has been a cool show, Noel, right? I mean, we've had tons of cool musicians on from all around the world. And in talking to these people, we bring out some very human topics that sort of affect us all, right?
Absolutely.
So this is another cool opportunity for sure.
Definitely, you hit upon a really great nail there, I have to say, too, because I love that part of the show where you kind of dig deeper into, not just the artist, but also kind of a reflection of ourselves. It's the viewer, so it's you and I.
How did the three of us get to this place tonight where we're crossing paths, right? Because we all got here, and so let's talk about that.
Oh, we're getting deep already.
Yeah,
very good. I love it. I love
it. Quick.
Write notes, literally, figuratively. Yes, write notes. Very good. So, without further ado, so welcome, Leslie, and it's kind of moving on to you really do have a fascinating story to tell, and come from a very tough and very hard background growing up.
Here.
And you're here, you made it. And here you are, because as Mark's saying, here you are in the present, here in the now with us. We have this really beautiful and very fascinating song, I find. It's musically, it's very fascinating because it's so unique. It really has its own texture, its own vibe, its own feel. It just stands out to me in a lot of ways, not just lyrically, but musically. Your style of music is very unique. I can throw words out it's very jazz, fusion, pop, rock orientated. It doesn't really describe what's going on in your song. So tell us a bit more, if you can, about your latest single.
Sure, thank you. And thank you for that opportunity. And thanks for listening. Because, as musicians, I know you can all relate. You put that single out there and you just cross your fingers and say,
Yeah.
okay, I've done all the work. And maybe people will get me or maybe they won't. Maybe I'll have to tweak it. So just the response I've been getting is just so lovely. So I
Really,
guess,
already? That's great.
yeah, I just feel really privileged to just be able to just talk with people about the single because we've all worked, put stuff out there, and it just hasn't done what we were hoping it would do. So just to be able to sort of have this opportunity, just to say, hey, because I got to play music for such a long period of time, when I sort of hit a certain age, I started, and the pandemic happened. I said, you know what? Wow, life was like this for all of us. Every last one of us had to sit on that couch and go right in here,
reevaluate,
right out what the heck is happening. I also had to bury several neighbors, so that added quite a layer to it. May they all rest
Oh, is
in
that
peace.
right? Wow.
So, I mean, there was that sort of spirit around at the time where people sort of coming, they're going. We ourselves are kind of going, oh, pandemic, not quite sure. Oh my goodness. And all of a sudden, it's almost like the music became part of just my day-to-day journey, right? Just what would I do? Where am I? What story needs to be told right now? And Look But Don't Touch was just that beginning, that young woman just trying to figure out who the hell am I in a really scary world with really scary things, but knowing inside of myself, who am I? And you know what? If I'm just honest, it's going to be okay. Yes, it's going to be bumpy. Yes, I've had some stuff that has happened, but you know what? I can get access to healing. I might not, it might take me 15 years to get there, but I know somewhere along the line I'm going to be healing. But the process of music puts it into a layer that you say, okay, there it is. That chapter, good golly, I survived that. Not bad. Let's have a little music to go along with it. And I think it's just the way I use music. Other people might go off to therapy and do that piece, which I also think is very important. But music is that place of competence that I feel. Just feeling confident that I can do something. We all play a G chord differently. If I were to tell you a G chord as a musician, I know you've got 5 different voicings, right?
Right.
And try to figure out, okay, I hear that. Ah, you put the B on top. Very cool. Let me put the G under here. Let's try to have this conversation going. And what does this thread of music actually mean? So just to sort of wrap this up, this is a beginning of 6 singles. So this is first single.
Okay.
15-year-old young woman. But then I fell in love, right? So by about 20, I'm starting to have a whole different experience. Oh my goodness, look at these beautiful babies that came into my life. So that's song number 3. I ended up having 2 daughters. Song number 4 is We've All Been at the Breakup. I don't care who you love, but someday you had to say goodbye.
That's life, unfortunately.
That's life. And try to co-parent the kids. How do we figure that out? By song number 5, I'm actually talking about, ooh, I really like you. Okay, because I've now reached an age where I'm saying, okay, I've gone a little water under the bridge here, but it wasn't so bad. Okay, yeah, I had to turn myself up, as we say, ass over tea kettle, for lack of a better word, but I'm still standing. And
right, exactly.
That song, the spirit and the ancestors. So, long story short, this is the beginning of a 6-song.
Gotcha. So that's right. Again, even that in itself is a bigger picture context you're describing here. That's very fascinating as well. Never mind the first song of the 6 you're telling us about with "Lick But Don't Touch." Very cool. But I love the fact, and that's how I I say Mark and I were trying to discover earlier, but how can you find more out there on you? We had a tough time finding some more stuff because we were both so fascinated. But we heard the single, it's just like. I can kind of sense, without even knowing you, a sense of like it's a very therapeutic, song in a lot of sense. It's just kind of what it describes about you, but I can sense. I should really kind of say it's really kind of sense in an empathetic kind of a way. That's kind of you, just kind of healing yourself is through this song, and it's a beautiful song. It really is.
Thank you. I appreciate that. As a musician, I know when you put your stuff out there, you never know if it's resonating, right?
Yeah. My dog, it's so vulnerable. You put yourself out there like that. It's like, I don't know, is it going to take or not? I don't know.
Absolutely. Or are people just going to say, well, that's just really creepy. I don't get it. I'm not quite sure what that is. And so I'm really grateful that I was able to articulate it in a way that maybe some people will get,
So it came out, December 2nd? It was pretty early. It was quite recent when it came out. Is that correct?
November 30th release. And I just sort of said, okay, out to the universe you go. I know I trust you. And I mean, as much as it's about sort of healing, it's also about having a little bit of fun. Come on, 16-year-olds have fun.
Yeah.
Remember,
well, that's where the fun part I get from your musical context is where I get the fun part is when you hear your guitar playing and your song itself. It's like, oh, that's the fun part. But your story is kind of dark, but I can see it's kind of moving off to like more of a evolutional place. But it's initially telling a dark tale. But musically, I find it's absolutely brilliant in its own fashion, own unique fashion.
Thank you. May I mention people that worked with me, because I just didn't do it alone, and I really just want to give them some props. So Mr. Shamaka Ali, hailing from Tennessee, and he's a Tennessee man, Nashville. I'm sorry, oh my God, he would hate me if I told you this. Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis, gotta get that straight, yeah.
Absolutely. So, and he was on drums, amazing drummer. Roger Williams on bass, who is an amazing bassist around town, and Mark Zubek, wonderful man on keyboards. So, just to sort of give my brothers some props there, because I didn't do it alone.
It's essential, yes, it's essential.
Yeah, absolutely. So just feel fortunate.
No kidding. So with those 6 songs you mentioned earlier to be released, this being the first one of the 6, will there be like a record or essentially EP to be released, or just be strictly the singles being coming out, the next 6 singles, and that's it, moving on from there?
I'm learning how to pivot. I would love to do 6 singles, but if the market says let's go for the EP, let's get it out there and just move on. Because I'm always writing, right? So
I know. So. Yeah.
Yeah, for writers, when we're playing our music, it's like sometimes 10 years old. So you want to kind of move on to the next stuff. I remember Prince talking about this a lot, where he just wanted that I got to get it out. I got to get it out. And of course, the market is saying, oh, we got Prince now. But you say, look, I'm writing a song every flipping day. I just need to sort of compile some of this stuff and look at what he left us with. I mean, I've just bought Welcome to America and went, wow, dude, this is what you were doing in 2010. Holy smokes. So that's where I'm at right now, just wanting to sort of get the music out so I can sort of have that other voice, right?
Exactly. Explore other territories and so on and so forth. Yeah. Hey, over to Mark. I got carried away here.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to tell you, I was thrilled to hear the song. And I mean, the song is really like it's an experience. It's like a night out. It's like 10 conversations happening at once, right? And I kind of see what's going on. I'm privy to what's happening over here. I've got my own thing happening, and like I get it, right? And that was really cool how you approach that musically, because you talk about pivoting, but you're pivoting in the song stylistically and also from conversation to conversation and from person to tense. And that is very much like you're setting the mood in a time and place. I felt like with that song. How about that? Am I right?
Right on. You literally took it right over my head. Think Lou Reed, Velvet Underground.
Love Lou Reed. Come on,
Walk on the Wild Side. Walk on the Wild Side.
He's still a king of New York, right?
Absolutely. We were weaned on that stuff. Come on.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the mood I'm trying to create. That sort of boom, boom. It's so nice and easy. And then all of a sudden take a walk on the wild side.
You're calling and responding. There's that element of it too, right? And so there's a theatrical nature to it, and there's characters you're creating. Is it harder when the character is you or when it's somebody else you're writing about?
It's a great question. It depends on my mood to answer that question. So if I am feeling very introspective, I have no problem being vulnerable. But then I literally want to stop, reflect to see if I'm being too vulnerable. Is it really even necessary? So for example, if I have a friend that has died, I might write a song about them, but is it appropriate to sing it? Yeah. Because it can be viewed as being monetized. It gets tricky once we start hitting the business, because it's one thing to have yes, I'm having the emotion, but another thing to have the family say, Leslie, I don't want to hear this song. So what I also need to know is how to write away from myself, because that's true.
Yeah.
Right? And that's writing. Yeah. That we observe.
Detaching.
Say, okay.
What do you want other people to hear in your songs? What do you hope other people see and hear in your art?
That it's okay to be truthful. That you can be yourself. You can just be yourself.
And then it doesn't really have to take you a long time. I mean, you and I aren't all that different. Like, I started making very different music from what I made in my past just in the last few years, because I wouldn't have forgiven myself if I didn't at least try, right? And you know, and the little bit of success I've had there is worth more than some of the early success I had that was a little more obvious to me, you know? And so I know, right, we all somehow cross paths here. And so very interesting to hear about your background, not just musically, but can you tell us a little bit about growing up and sort of, you know, how you came to be, you know, who you consider yourself to be today and who you're proud to be?
Lovely, thank you. Thanks for that opportunity. I'll try to keep it short. It has been a long one.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
I know it's a big question.
Indeed, it's the question of life.
Great question.
It's a great question. Just who do we bring to our art? I was born to a woman that struggled a lot. Yeah, and with deepest compassion towards my mother, I will give her honor because she gave birth to me, but she really needed a lot of help. You know. And by that,
no, absolutely, yeah.
And by that I mean, when you lose a baby, I'm born after the death of a child. I'm also born at the end of a marriage.
That's H.E.R, correct? You're talking about your brother H.E.R. I did read that, so I wanted to. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I bring him everywhere with me. I light candles for him every night, but that's a whole other ritual that I get into. So to be born into that, I look exactly like my father. My father, unfortunately, was very too young to be married, just too young to be, too many children. An 18-year-old shouldn't be married.
Right.
I'm not making excuses for him. My mother was significantly older. It's the usual, you're gonna have to get married, one of them kind of deals, right? It's also global because my father is a Jamaican student in Toronto studying to be a doctor of economics. That's what my father ended up being, a professor.
Okay. Oh, wow.
It's in that sort of milieu that my mother meets my father. She's a registered nurse. Wham, bam, thank you. They're pregnant. My brother is born, but my father has to leave to go to London to finish up his degrees. My brother is sent actually around this time to his grandparents, my mother's parents. And within under 6 months, he's dead with no funeral. Wow. I'm sorry, with no parents being there, nobody. It's complicated, okay? I'm in process of trying to figure out what the heck happened because he died in a foreign country. As you can imagine, the trauma, as you can imagine. I'm what they call the makeup baby, but it didn't work out. Of course, all hell broke loose. My mother has to essentially flee for her life. Fortunately, she comes back to Toronto, and that's where I'm born. My father returns to Toronto to teach and to try to get to know his kid. I have no idea. I end up in the Caribbean. Literally, hi, we're going to the Caribbean now. It was one of those deals. Literally today, tomorrow. So
But that's a complete upheaval for you because you're not. You have Caribbean ancestry, but you're not Caribbean, right? You're from Toronto, so
born and raised.
Yeah.
Swinging my
Canadian
flag.
You don't try.
Toronto. And imagine this is centennial year, so it's one of those big years. So I get swept migratory towards Barbados, going, why the expletive deleted in my hair, not realizing, of course, my mother's running from my father. We stay there for 8 years. We can't have a relationship. My mother she wasn't able. I mean, as much as I would love to fix her, but I can't.
Right.
She's not able. She's just not able. So with deepest compassion I have for her, I ended up being raised for many years without her because we really have to look at women that have lost children, how they connect with the other child, right? Because she's just not able. And I'm a splitting image of the man that hurt her. In care for 3 years, just can't cope. And you know what? I want to thank her because I ended up having an okay life. Okay. They took good care of me because I'm still here. All right. So, and I wasn't the only kid that would have been there. Okay. And at least she knew within her heart, I can't take care of this child. I just can't.
Right.
So it was one of those lives. I kept saying in Barbados, my goodness, I feel like Gilligan. When am I leaving the island? I gotta get off this island.
And was there music in the background of all this? What was your musical upbringing like?
Yeah, what triggered that?
Now this gets even better. My mother ends up in Barbados running for her life, trying to get married. It doesn't work out. But her boyfriend is a jazz pianist named Keith Campbell, who is one of the greatest bebop musicians in Barbados. So I actually end up being raised with him. So this is where the music comes from. So it's almost like that was the gift, that I had to meet this lovely man who had a very complicated background. Think jazz musicians of 1960s to 70s. And he worked in a place called the Flambeau Bar in the downtown Hilton in Barbados. And that was his gig. He did that. Wow. So I grew up with a full-time Darn musician that, you know, it just dawned on me. He was a really cool dude. Picked me up from school, dropped me off from school, and he was easy to be around. He was a nice man. He had a lot of children. Of children. I was one of them.
And your paths crossed. That's awesome. Yeah.
Exactly.
Us being sort of the sum total of it all, right?
Yeah, no kidding, eh?
So but I mean, you like, I was expecting to hear, like, you know, because you hear Caribbean and music. I said, okay, what is this? It's going to be like Harry Belafonte, or it's going to, you know what I mean? But it's not, right? It's Ricky Lee Jones. It's Joan Armatrading. It's sort of, it's you, right? But there's definitely a gutsy sort of aspect, the way you change gears. It's, people would describe it as progressive, but I don't want to say progressive, because progressive music, it can be like science or math. It can be alienating. It implies that you need some special understanding to get it. It's progressive, but it's welcoming. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but
yeah, progressive, or even like a bit of a mainstream to it as well. Like to me, it's very
yeah, because there are hooks in it. There are catchy parts in it. You're not afraid to put textures up against one another, and things like that. So it's funny getting to know you and the different parts of you, and it starts to make sense a little bit more, you know. All the parts to the whole, but it's terrific music, and we understood that you had some music years ago, but maybe you walked away from it. Is that true?
Indeed, I was a full-time musician for most of my young life, and then I became a mommy, and it was important that my babies needed some sustaining. I couldn't say, darling,
of course, mommy,
I'm a parent. Yeah, life-changing stuff.
Yeah,
I just couldn't. So I had also been doing social work in the meantime. So I'd had a 22-year career in social work. So it was just a matter of going back and sort of doing the degree pieces, so that I can now do the clinical pieces and sort of step into teaching, which is where I ended up going. So it was a really lovely journey. And I'll tell you, the musical skills in a classroom are amazing, because you get to engage with people. They get it. I mean, come on, we're talking clinical social work at 8 o'clock.
It's a language, yeah.
It's so true, yeah. It's a language too, you're right, so true.
Yeah. And then, of course, the flip side is to be on stage and then to be okay with looking around the room, right? So it gave me some great stuff. And I worked with some amazing people. And believe it or not, many folks that do what I do also do music. I don't know what it is about education and music. I'm not sure what that's
absolutely about. Yeah. There's a lot of connection to it. And that's creative types. We tend to open ourselves up to more people and more experiences and take more risks. And you know,
more risk takers, I think.
Listen, I'm lefty too, so I'm like right out of the textbook creative guy. But like, but I know I get it, and it's wonderful. And it's, what do your kids think of your music?
Well, I've raised a musician. I raised a young musician, so she's out there doing her thing.
What does she play? What she play?
She's a guitarist too, and she can kick. Oh man, she makes me go, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. And it's wonderful to watch her. And my eldest got into e-commerce, so she went to and did the business route. Said, I will never do social work, and went off and did business. Does some amazing stuff with e-commerce, online businesses.
So wild. That's really, really, really cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, they're grown women. I can't believe it. Are any of you parents at all?
Well, actually, I raised a couple girls a long time ago.
Okay, a couple of daughters.
Yeah, I have a 15-year-old son and a 13-year-old daughter.
Okay, so you're still in there, Papa. Okay, still in.
Yeah, I listen. There was a time in my life where I thought I'd be happy if I never had kids, but I didn't know what I was talking about. Right? You have them, and now I can't imagine my life being any different. And It is funny though. I always ask parents that, especially parents that, because it's funny how my kids think about me when I put a new record out, right? The 13-year-old daughter's kind of rolling her eyes like, I'm not wearing your shirt to school,
Not
you know,
again.
your son thinks it's a little cooler. And I get it, you know, it's fine. I think
You're your dad, right? Your dad.
As parents and educators, we're open to having the music and arts be as important as math and science, and we don't consider some things soft skills and some things hard skills, and we kind of unlearn some of this, I think, unhealthy attitude towards what we teach our children. I think we'll be okay, right? But yeah, I think it's terrific. We my wife and I have 2 kids, and if we were blessed with more, I'd welcome them. If not, it's wonderful too.
and like I said, it's just amazing that I got to do this also, just to parent, and because I wanted.
No, you're a parent, no?
Indeed, no.
Yeah, I raised. Well, actually, it's kind of fun, long story, but I had an ex-girlfriend many years ago, and she was a single mom with two girls, and I came and I stepped in there and helped raise them for quite a long time.
As a noble cause, man.
Indeed,
yeah, and actually, they're incredible girls. But unfortunately, I learned all about empty nesting and all the things you don't want to learn about.
Yes,
that's really hard on the heart.
That's coming up.
So that was a hard one. But you know, I don't regret anything whatsoever. I would do it all over again, not like in a heartbeat. And because the experience itself, it kind of leaves you with the fulfillment, of course, but also the fact that you had a positive meaning on another life, another soul. Times 2. It's like, oh, that's cool. We see.
What job do you get to have where you can impact somebody's life so much, right? None more so than a parent. It's true, and it sounds corny, but I'm eternally grateful that I was given the opportunity to do this, and even more grateful that I haven't screwed it up. You know?
Well said.
Yeah, you know? I hear you, man.
But I always think it's cool because when you're an artistic person and you're a parent and you're going to see things from different writing. We're not mainstream people just as being sort of musicians and creative people, right? Were there challenges to you in being a creative person and being not a cookie cutter, suburban like housewife type person in the 70s and 80s? Were there unique challenges about being you?
Absolutely. Just not fitting in, really. Even if I did try to be the cookie cutter suburban housewife, I would have been completely, they would have said, you're faking it. We know.
No doubt. Right.
Yeah. So absolutely. And I found my tribe. Yeah. Because that's what happens. You
found your tribe, you're true unto yourself, and you teach your kids that. So that's great.
Because there were a lot of funky parents around at the same time. So it's almost like all of us kind of did we're going to do the funky parent thing. So we all kind of went, okay, we know each other. And
that's great.
Yeah.
To be raised together. So it kind of was a little community that we created, right? But that's a great question.
Yeah. Is there like creative community that you're involved with now? Like people haven't been gigging out lately just because of the whole COVID thing, but just wondering, like, is there any kind of a scene that you consider yourself part of, or are you just kind of doing your own thing musically?
I'm doing my own thing musically, but I'm open to trying to get into a scene. And as you said, because of our COVID shutdown, we're literally just all still terrified of each other, doing the best we can just to say, you okay?
Yeah.
So, but definitely it's part of my process in getting out there. I am out tomorrow night to do the sort of schmooze thing at a local nonprofit that we have in Toronto. So I'm excited to meet folks. And
oh, really? Whereabouts is that in Toronto? Whereabouts is that?
It's called Unison, and it's apparently a yearly thing that, of course, now started again post-pandemic. So it's going to be the big Toronto thing. So I'm off to do that.
Very good. Is that downtown Toronto?
Yes, it is. It's around, oh boy, bear with me, Lakeshore. Down by the lake. I have to Google the address at one point. So
no problem at all. Just wanted to get you that little plug in there, eh? That's
what
about that? Shameless promotion on the show all the time.
I'm quick on the pickup here. Unison Schmooze, and I want to say it's Bremner Boulevard, Toronto.
Oh, yes, I know it is. Yeah, right by the arena. Yeah.
There you go. Get your tickets now.
Excellent. Very good. That's really good. So you did anything else planned as far as like doing live shows in the near future in Toronto, outside Toronto? Any kind of plans or discussions of doing so?
Absolutely. So I'm working with a bunch of musicians right now. Jim Gelser on drums, Emma Hewson on keys, and Brian Huntley on bass, and myself on guitar. And I'm just preparing for 2023 shows as we speak. So next rehearsal is next Saturday for 3 hours, and we just plug away at the tunes and get ourselves up and running. As you're well aware, I'm not quite sure where you guys are. Are you in New York still?
I'm in Toronto.
I'm in New York.
Yeah. Oh, so you know what's been going on. So we've been opening and then closing and then opening.
That's right. Yeah.
So
it was pretty tough there for a while. Oh my God.
I lost my entire band. I couldn't blame them. I mean,
wow.
Well, they have to gig. They've got a gig, right?
That's right.
So that's what you got to do.
To make money.
I can't provide anything for you right now. Go do what you need. And thank you. Right. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll definitely let you know once I sort of get up in terms of playing, because I'm so looking forward to playing. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, 100%.
It's all about. I will not be jumping off speakers, as Prince said. I'm not going to be doing that anytime soon, but I certainly will be moving around and having a good time. Just
very good, very good. So you mentioned before, like you actually produce your own materials. That you're a producer of your last single. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I co-produced with Mark Zubek, who runs Z Records in Toronto, Ontario. Lovely, lovely man. So easy to work with. So if you ever need a really good producer, affordable, Mark Zubek, pardon me, of Z Records is the place to go.
Z Records. Okay.
Records. And so because I have a recording studio at home, like everybody else, which we call Logic, right? You just throw up a mic and you get yourself organized and you play your little guitar and you play your little piano and you get your bass line going and oh my goodness, you can arpeggiate notes. Wow, that's fancy. Okay, there we go. And before you know it, I've got a tune that I could then, in the middle of the pandemic, send to Mark, who would send me back a mix, say, what do you think of this? And that's how we did it.
Gotcha. That's going on quite a lot.
Like how Jimmy and I made my record during the pandemic. I mean, you had to work, right? You did what you could, you know?
Right.
Recording tracks in the house, sending them off, and technology has enabled that for us. So it's like, okay, this horrible thing happened that was the pandemic, but what came out of it? One thing, this show, another thing, right?
That's
your
right.
record, my last record. So we did find ways to adapt, which is cool. I'm a guitar player also. I'm self-taught. There's nothing fancy about what I play, but I like to talk to other people about are you an electric player, an acoustic player? Is there a particular kind of guitar you like to play?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking me about my rig. Okay, here we go.
Of course.
So I have a Martin Road Series guitar, which I use for writing on occasion, but I learn also classical guitar. So I have an Almanza, and I'm just learning guitar as we speak.
Nylon string?
Nylon string, you got it.
Cool.
But my dream baby, my little baby, is my Ibanez or Ibanez, however you pronounce it.
Yeah.
It's the
Ibanez,
Yeah, the old musician's model, dating back to way back in the 80s. And I drive it through a Katana amp, Boss 100K amp, and I'm a pedal queen. So I've got my driver. I've got
cool.
And I've got my, I believe it or not, I have something that can sound like a keyboard, which is a B3 foot pedal. I don't use it a lot.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Songs. I have, of course, a digi delay on there. I have my good old flanger, because everybody needs a flanger, blues driver, and I think I'm run out of space. Yeah, I think that's the setup. But
that's cool. You can do a lot with an Ibanez and that type of a pedal board for sure. Yeah.
And I do have a Fender Strat, but I'm so used to humbucking. I need that double pickup, man. I really need it. But I do.
I like the humbuckers too. I tend to play Gibson SGs because of that. Yeah. And then every now and then, right, you pull out something with a single coil or something, and somebody tells you you should do it more often. But I know what I like. You know?
Exactly. Can relate. And it does. And it's not that it doesn't give you the sound. It's just not that sound that you're after. Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
So that's my
very cool. And so you're playing just sort of did you study with somebody, or did it evolve sort of organically as you wrote your own stuff and whatever?
Little bit of both. I wanted to write really well, but I started off listening, and I know this sounds really cheesy. Boy, am I ever dating myself? Here I go. I'm going into the river. I started off listening to people like Billy Joel. He is an amazing writer.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, yeah.
This guy has jazz chops. That's what he's writing, right?
Yeah.
Charles, jazz chops. Dave Brubeck, jazz chops.
Of course.
Yeah, that's who I started listening to. And then eventually I went off and found myself a really good teacher. His name is James Brown. He's heard every joke, and I have stuck with him for the last 10 to 15 years. And I'm so grateful. One of the most patient men I have ever met in my life. Sometimes I don't practice.
It's a wonderful relationship to have. I've had people that I was really worked with musically that were more like my therapists, you know, like there's a gray line there, you know, they become, once you trust them, they're in, right? Like,
yeah.
You got it. And I'm sure like me, you might have had to have gone through a few, because there were a few I could just say, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. I just can tell by the look on your face. Yeah. And I don't really want to learn how to play Happy Birthday, you know, come on.
Well, I think what you do is daring, but it's not like, oh, there's no way, it's too daring. Like, you can't try this type of stuff, you know? Yeah. But it is pretty daring because you do make stylistic changes, you make textural changes, you make tempo changes, and it does all make sense in the context of that, like 4 minutes, right? But you had a lot to say. Like, by the time you got this song out, I could tell you had a lot to say.
Indeed. It was a place of danger that became a place of safety for me, because I'm walking into a space I know nothing, but I have this drive, and I'm gonna be okay. And
it's a wonderful piece. I'm glad you did. You know, if you weren't as daring with it, it wouldn't be what it is. So yeah, very cool. Very cool.
Absolutely. Well, how many guitars did you actually play on that single? So I was kind of really curious about that.
Pardon me?
When you actually recorded that song of Look But Don't Touch, how many guitars did you actually play on that song? It's so full. It's so rich.
It's me on lead, rhythm, and everything. I'm the only player. Yeah.
So there's 2 guitars you play on there?
It's only that's a good question. I would guess he would have tracked 3 guitars. Yeah, because I did 3 different parts. That's a great question.
It's so full. It's coming at you from different points as well.
Indeed. Because I do a really heavy rhythm line, then I do an intro line, then I do a lead rhythm line, then and then of course I drop into the A part or the B.
And you're employing different effects or different pedals in each of those tracks, right? So yeah.
Exactly. That's why I love my wah, because the wah will take you right back to 1970-ish. Right?
I love a wah too.
I love it. Yeah, I actually love it.
Classic. I play an 80s Stevie Vai Bad Horsey wah, but that's just because I'm a child of the 80s. But the old Crybabies are great too. You gotta have a wah in your rack. You got it.
Gotta have it. I still think of like Richie Blackmore on that song "No No No" on Fireball.
Oh my goodness.
That's another classic one.
You talk about Deep Purple, Richie Blackmore. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been like the band Master Reality, the band Master Reality, with that song Blue Garden. Really great wah-wah pedal on that song.
Yeah. I'll go check it out.
Cool. Check it out, guys.
Stuff that we figured out in the 60s and 70s that we figured it out then. Like, we can do it as well now, but not better. Like, some stuff was just as good as it was going to be. Like Joe Walsh and the James Gang, right? Like, nobody's giving you Funk 49 again, and it's never going to be better.
Or that powerful again. Yeah.
Doesn't matter that Joe wasn't sober, that anything else, right? It was that moment in time, you know?
Yeah.
I always felt, and Noel and I talk about this a lot, how if you take like 20 years in history, right? Not so much has happened between like 2000 and now, but like what happened between like 1960 and 1980, my God.
Enormous change. You know, like it really, I remember look back, it was like a year or 2 year on a calendar would be like eternity in the music industry. You know, like you would have either been hot or just flash in the pan, whatever the case may be. But it seemed like eternity as far as the change.
It just seemed people got comfortable, you know, people really tore it up for those couple of decades. And now it's like, I don't know if it's a corporate thing. That's all above my pay grade. I don't know what it is. I know what I like to hear though. And I typically I'm not attracted as much to computerized music or stuff that's mixed in the box or, I like organic. I like instruments, you know, I don't like MIDI as much, but, we'll see. Time will tell, you know.
Time will tell. Exactly.
Exactly.
Well,
so
we saw this.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead there.
No, I was just wanting to add, we saw this coming. We saw this move towards it coming real. And by the time you said it so well, we just landed, and now we're just kind of, okay, trying to find stasis again. But sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, God, no. God, no. But it just shows you how much people have changed in the last 20 years.
Indeed.
They've changed immensely. Let's face facts. Whether however want to dissect it or describe it, but people changed immensely in our culture. So therefore the music changed. And then but it's so funny, like still, you look at all the bands that we all grew up with the Beatles, Stones, Zeppelin, they're still huge in sales. They still get this phenomenal sales and so forth.
Good stuff. I mean, come on, Dire Maker, come on. I mean,
it's truly classic stuff. It's our Mozarts, but it's times them by many of them. We had some great bands and artists growing up, so we were kind of spoiled with this great richness of talent and fate, and we want to call it. But it was very special, and it was thank God we were part of it and seen it. I know, unfortunately, I caught more the end of it because I came on. My parents were of the '60s era, so they were definitely they're fully aware of it. But for me, I caught it much later. But I appreciated all that was going on there because you can see it was just it's beyond great music. It's beyond a cultural revolution. There's much more going on. Just fascinating stuff.
I'm just as you say that, I'm even thinking of as we go into Logic programs that there's even a sound called crate digger for that very reason, because going into the old crates and trying to find those sounds that made us all go, ooh, yeah.
And as we all know, we don't have to really dig very far, very deep. You're gonna find great stuff. Really, what's this so much great stuff? It's amazing, really. It's just too bad today. Like look at yourself, like Leslie. Like you have a great song, and I hope the songs are like the other, like your the song here, like your single here, because that really is so unique. But I'm just saying, like as Mark can appreciate too on the show, we've seen so many different artists too, like in our eyes, have all those elements, those great sellable elements. They're unique. They have their own style, their own sound, their own feel, and you can see there's an audience for it. But unfortunately, because it's all online stuff, it's just made it more. Not, it's not really bigger. It's gone actually much smaller again. A lot of people kind of missing out on stuff like your material. It's kind of a shame.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that. And I guess I'll have to find those little gaps that I have to sort of plug into. I'm forever learning.
They're hard to find.
We get those small little wins, and I think Noel, I mean, to somebody that's out there writing songs, it's like the business is like that Chinese finger trap. Like the harder you pull, you're not going to get anywhere. You just frustrate yourself. So it sounds corny, but like for Leslie to be true to herself and make her music, whether or not I have a label that comfortably can, that I can categorize or silo what she does, forget about it. She's better off pleasing herself, doing what she loves. The love comes through. People like us hear it. The fact of the matter is there really isn't a lot of bread to go around anymore. People don't pay for content. And unfortunately, art, I don't want to take this in a dark place, but art has become content, right? And content's been devalued. So you write a song. What is that song worth? You used to be able to write one great song. It's in everyone's wedding. You never work another day, right? That's not going to happen anymore, right? It's just, as a society, the way that we've devalued art. But I do have faith that it'll pick up one way or another. I think in some karmic way, maybe the rock and rollers aren't going to get rich again, but maybe there's somebody that's doing something wonderful with live painting or sculpture or film or, and maybe we're willing to give a little bit more of ourselves for that content.
Indeed.
Yeah. I hear you. No, well put. And
you got it.
See how it evolves. We lost Mark here. Hopefully, just lost him just temporarily.
I hope he's okay.
Yeah. This show's like that sometimes.
It's the internet, and what perfect timing! Here we are talking about the internet, and it sort of does its internet thing.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Got dropped by the ether somehow.
Indeed. And there is some very important understandings to where we are in the industry right now. It almost feels like because of the intense niches that we've created, that there might be some shifting and changing, but your guess is as good as mine, right? I'm just staying as hopeful as I possibly can while we all
like actually I caught a really brief interview with Frank Zappa many years ago, obviously, because we lost him a long time ago, unfortunately. We had this great interview going back to, I think it was actually the 70s, But what he's saying was so articulate about now still in the music industry, like how he's, I hate to be negative either, but how sometimes at the top level where these guys are all hipsters and so forth, and they know the people, they know the audience are telling you, what's popular, what you have to do to sell your material more. And he goes, we're better off those guys from the 60s, cigar smoking guys that had no clue, and say, you know what, just put it out, just release that. I have no idea, just release it, and it could catch on and become big.
Indeed. And there's your 10 cents, and here's my million, right? Billions,
yeah.
Which is the way we know it worked in so many ways.
Now it's like a 360 deal where they basically own a part of you and be part of you in a lot of ways.
And that's why I set up my own record label. I'm not looking for it to get signed.
Brilliant.
It doesn't make sense at this stage of the game. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't turn down a distribution deal with one of the big three, but it seems to make more sense at this level to do it this way and bring other people on, and then perhaps down the road we look at something different. But right now it just seems to make the sense that the money stays home, right?
Absolutely. If you can, that's obviously the best way to go. But I'm sure, with the challenges of getting your name out there and getting exposure, it's probably more challenging because of because this is so much noise as far as other competition is concerned. Right?
That's right. And what I will ideally do is sort of approach people to open up for them. So that's what I'm hoping in 2023. Once I get the band solid, I start approaching, of course, talent buyers, but also approaching other artists that might have similar of work to me. And I would be honored to open for you, because that's how you get yourself out there.
Absolutely. That's very cool. You're taking more of the business approach too, plus being the artist, the singer, songwriter. That's really fascinating.
And my ideal is that I step back at one point, and there are other artists that come on and also sign on to the label. We do our 50-50 deals and get the artists out, because I know that there's a lot of folks sitting around like me that they just need that little bit of investment that says, there you go. Okay.
Absolutely.
So that's as I say, there's room enough for everybody. It's not just about me, about really creating, creating. How can I put it? Sort of, I don't want to get all kind of woohoo and organic-y and all that kind of stuff.
No.
But you're sort of saying that I know that there are many people out there, so perhaps facilitating that
genre or that genre.
Yeah, I'm out of words at this stage. Sorry. Yep.
It's all good. But that's my it was like Mark and I were saying earlier on the show, was that like it wasn't for this show and meeting Eric Appler, he worked with as a publicist, and the folks who are management and with other bands and artists that we deal with on a weekly basis. I would have seen or heard a lot of these bands or artists, including your new single. And I'm really I'm grateful, because if I look at the mainstream of the music scene, it's not to me very appealing. But like stuff like your stuff, it's not just, it's beyond appealing. It's actually, it's rather mind blowing, because you're offering something that's very unique. I'm not hearing this anywhere else. And I'm being quite sincere. What you're offering is a style. I can't put a name on it or a label on it, because it is quite, like Mark was saying earlier, it's quite expansive, musically speaking.
Thank you. Yes. And I literally thank you for saying that. I really appreciate the feedback, because you never know, so I'm very grateful that you've listened and you've heard my intent. That was my intent. And it's funny, no, I literally have to stop listening to music, because I listen to it and I go, oh, wow, we're there, eh? Oh, wow. What happened?
I hear you.
And it does speak to the product making and it isn't even genres anymore. It's just really product.
Yeah, correct.
Really all I'm looking at is, like, I would go into, say, Hudson's Bay, if that's still around. I know it might be complicated.
Still around. Yeah, still around.
My Westinghouse fridge. I'm going to buy this product. I know what I'm getting. Boom. Don't do it any different. Don't be creating any vibes here. Now I just want, and that there's nothing wrong with that. But what happens is you don't get the art that the world might say, hey, I'd love to listen to this too. Right?
Yes, absolutely. Because it's kind of a formalized thing that's like, it sounds good to the people selling to us, but it's not sounding good to us. Yeah.
Indeed. And that doesn't take away from the talent of these hardworking musicians. I know how hard this work is, okay? Yeah. I'm not sitting on any high horse and looking down on people. I get it. You got to pay your bills. Of course, you've got to do A, B, C, X, Y, Z. But while we're doing that systemically, can we also have this happening, right? So, because they don't make the system, they're just part of it, right?
Correct. It's part of it. Exactly. It's part of that cog, that wheel.
You go. So picking on somebody like Nicki Minaj is not fair. She's part of a larger system.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
Right? Come on. Woman's trying to put some food on her table, and she's doing it the best she can. And if anything, let's actually be kind and be helpful, as opposed to, come on, stop it. Just behave. Just behave. It'll be nice. Yeah.
100%.
And if you don't like, it's not your thing. And as I say the same for rap. These are young people that have something to say. Is it hard? Absolutely. But the system is saying it's okay to have these things happen. Right?
I mean, yeah, true.
There's a point where we have to sort of say, yes, they're accountable, but so is the system for putting it out there, as we come to a very controversial young man in the news of late who was making some really problematic things. He's saying some really, he is saying some problematic things, man. Not cool, dude. Again, why are we giving him a platform?
Right on. I agree with you. There's a lot of things going on, plus in the U.S. that's kind of like really out there. It's being accepted somehow in these circles, or now someone kind of wagging the dog. It's like the tail wagging the dog somehow. It's very bizarre. And that's another example of that. Is that what just raised there? It's a shame.
So again, we come back to, maybe if that exists, maybe I can exist too. And guess what? Maybe there's a whole bunch of other people that kind of say, okay, it's safe. Come on.
We need you.
Come on in. All 30 of you. Bring your friends. Okay.
We need more Leslie Taylor. That's all I know. No, really, it's a great track. And yes, before we close off, because most of the time here is, I really do. I sincerely love the single. People out there, you gotta check it out. It's such a unique single. No words can describe the single. It's that cool and that's special and that unique. And hope we hear more of this type of stuff from you, because it's fantastic.
Thank you so much. What an honor to have started my journey here with did I say it right? Spanglish TV?
Yeah, Spanglish Sports World Network. That's the network. The home network, and Zingo TV.
Wow. Amazing. So my Cuban granny is saying H.E.R.
Right on. It was a pleasure for Mark and I. Unfortunately, we lost Mark Duda somehow in the ether of this world we know as online, but we'll get him back hopefully soon. All right, we're on time. Thanks, Leslie. What a pleasure.
Mark, thank you. And to everybody out there, thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks again. Yeah. So folks, check out Leslie Taylor. Fantastic new single. And of course, folks out there, check out Zingo TV for all the news. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it, and love it, man. We'll see you guys real soon. And thanks again to Leslie Taylor. Thank you, folks. All the best.
Thank you. Enjoy.